upon a time, a young boy in New York was born that we all know today as the great and famous Donald Trump. But before he went to become one of the most successful real estate moguls and billionaires in America, before he dated and married some of the most beautiful women in the world, and before he became one of the most divisive, polarizing figures in American history. This is the story of mogul, reality TV star, socialite, politician, and 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. It's time for me to answer all these questions and more, since this is ASMR. Aaron, back at it again with another daily video to help you relax. So lay back and enjoy the ride. I hope this read helps you get you through your day, or even better, I hope this video helps you gently fall asleep. I can't wait to get started. This is the tale of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump draws extremely polarized reactions from different people, so either you are in the MAGA or Never Trump camp. You cannot ignore the 45th President of the United States. Born June 15, 1946, in Queens, New York, Donald John Trump was born to Frederick and Mary Ann Trump as the fourth of 5 children. His father was of German descent and was in the real estate business, while his mother was a housewife born in Scotland. As a child, Donald Trump was mischievous and clearly a brat, though many would argue he couldn't have been much worse than his adult life. He was known for throwing stones at other toddlers, for being a loudmouth bully, no surprise, and most infamously for punching his second-grade music teacher in the face. And at that point it wasn't funny anymore even for his parents. His father took strict action, and his authoritarian personality compelled him to have his son enroll in the New York Military Academy at the age of 13. Though the young Donald would never go on to serve in any branch of the military, earning him the reputation of being a draft dodger that would later haunt his political career, or not. Not that he cared, especially when he trashed Senator John McCain, a decorated war veteran who had endured captivity at the hands of Viet Cong for months, but he kept himself from serving, probably thanks to his daddy's connections, but he sure did his best to earn his money. It was around the age of 13 that he first drove a bulldozer at a construction site, showing early signs of his interest in his father's business. At school, Donald gained quite a bit of a reputation as being a ladies' man, which must have been an inside joke since there were no ladies at the military academy. But he was pretty much the king of his class and excelled at both studies and athletics. Right from his early life, his family was well-to-do, and in school, he had started driving a Ford convertible, which drove the message about his family's power home. But that was just a part of his swagger as an aspiring businessman, and he was always seen in a suit and carrying a briefcase since he was 19. He graduated the military academy in 1964 when he was 18 years old, and moved on to join Fordham University, from where he transferred 2 years later to join the more prestigious Wharton School of Finance at the University of Pennsylvania, which he proudly quotes again and again in his political campaigns and interviews, and graduated with a B.S. in economics in 1968. While at school, he worked for Elizabeth Trump & Son, his family business. There is no evidence to suggest he fared poorly academically, but like most aspects of his life, his education was not without controversy too. Even though the New York Times published his profiles in the 70s, mentioning that he graduated first in the class at Wharton, back when he had not fallen out of favor with the media, the school records do not show him qualifying for the honor. Later in 2015, his infamous lawyer, Michael Cohen, would threaten to sue New York Military Academy and Fordham if the institutes released his academic record. Nevertheless, his choice of the school was a reflection of his hawkish ambition for making money, which was evident from his attitude. At Fordham, he had declared in front of the whole class that he aimed to become the king of New York real estate. Classmates described him as blunt, arrogant, and unapologetic, which gives you some idea that he has been that way all his life, and perhaps his father's success had a lot of influence on the development of his character. Trump was noted to have a singular focus of money, and from an early age, he refrained from alcohol and after-school parties. However, that didn't mean that he had no weaknesses. Donald Trump had started falling for the ladies at a very early age, and one of those was his classmate, Candace Bergen, who would later go on to become the actress famous to play the titular role of Murphy Brown, but sadly for Donald, she turned him down. Perhaps Donald wasn't such a stud after all. Speaking of which, Vietnam War broke out while he was still in college, and Donald had a few calls for the draft, which were deferred each time. He was considered fit in 1966 and was considered qualified for a draft in 1968, but was deferred as only medically deferred to be only considered to be eligible for service in case of a national emergency. In another instance in 1972, citing bone spurs, he was permanently disqualified for the service, but the focus of his battle was dating the hottest woman, and even better, making the most money in New York real estate. Donald Trump was building his reputation as a business-focused guy. Trump was rich, but he was no prince or baron, and there were limits to his father's estate. However, his father had left him quite a few bucks to help him develop his base in the industry. With a loan of a humble $2 million from his father, he had made his first real estate investment in Philadelphia before graduating, and made a profit with his investment decisions, earning his father's approval and a higher position and more influence in his family's company. He was named the president of the company in 1972 and renamed it the Trump Organization. But Donald was always ambitious, and his father's Queens projects were never enough for him. He wanted the family business to expand into Manhattan and took a more liberal turn in terms of politics, which helped him fit into the politics and business of the more lucrative part of the city. Establishing his base with a lower Manhattan apartment, he was soon hanging out with the rich and famous of the city and directed his attention toward developing the railroad yards in the east side of the borough. Trump made headlines with his high-profile marriage with beautiful Czech model Ivana Zelníková in 1977 in a lavish wedding ceremony, and soon they became synonymous with high-end luxury lifestyle. Trump's most famous children, Don Jr., Eric, and Ivanka, are from his marriage with Ivana. Donald and Ivana got divorced in 1992, following the rumors that Trump was having an affair with actress Marla Maples, who he later married the very next year. Trump had a daughter, Tiffany, with Marla Maples. The couple later divorced in 1999. Back in the 80s, while Trump was still building his real estate empire, he gained more social and business clout by publishing a New York Times bestseller, Art of the Deal, in 1987, which was most likely ghostwritten, but helped him develop a reputation of an astute and cutthroat businessman, with great acumen for making tough business deals. This image was largely hyped by the media, which they would later try to undo during his unconventional political campaign that broke all norms not only in the U.S. but world politics, potentially inspiring events such as the Brexit. Trump continued to exert his influence with more powerful assets in Manhattan, such as the Grand Hyatt in 1980, and finally erecting his most famous symbol, the $200 million Trump Towers in 1982, which were at the time one of the most expensive buildings in the country and had some of the most famous tenants, including Michael Jackson. Hanging out with the rich and famous became a part of his charm, and that is why he has been seen golfing and partying with everyone in show business, from politics. Hanging out with the rich and famous has become a part of his charm, and that is why he has been seen golfing and partying with everyone in show business to the world of politics. Trump even received his Hollywood Walk of Fame star in 2007. He was friends with the Clintons before they were political rivals and donated to the campaigns of both Democrats and Republicans, including the Senate campaign of his future presidential rival Hillary Clinton, apart from donations to the Clinton Foundation. However, Trump got more conservative as the years went by and became immediately controversial by pushing birtherism against President Barack Obama. Obama must have never appreciated that because it was his jabs at the White House Correspondents' Dinner in 2011 that some think must have pushed Trump to run for president to prove a point. But back to his heyday, Trump rose to among the top socialites of New York City for decades to come and made frequent media appearances on Oprah and Larry King and all major late-night talk shows with Jay Leno, David Letterman, and Conan O'Brien, among others, apart from cameos in a few movies such as Home Alone. He had even started to comment on politics from time to time and was being asked about his possible plans to run for president, which Donald dismissed with his usual charm, while never ruling things out. Trump also frequently appeared in popular radio host Howard Stern's show and got into hot water later during his campaign for awkward and provocative interviews and program segments involving rating women, in which coincidentally he rated his daughter Ivanka a 10. As you know, none of that had any impact on his campaign, and despite supporting Hillary Clinton for president, Howard refused to entertain any thoughts of harming Trump's prospects by releasing any material that he had not broadcast already. But fans who know Howard and Trump know for a fact that either one of them would give a damn about things the press were honking. Actually, Howard has acknowledged Trump to be one of the greatest radio guests on multiple occasions. Becoming more powerful than ever, Trump expanded his interests to other parts of the country, adding the Mar-a-Lago estate in Palm Beach to his wealth in 1985, which would become his summer White House later in his presidency, and entered uncharted territory that his father's business had never explored. In 1984, Trump opened the Trump Plaza Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Despite its poor showing, Trump persisted with his casino in the city and a year later built the Trump Castle, which was managed by Ivana up to 1988. In that very year, Trump scored his third asset in the city with the famous Taj Mahal, completed at a cost of more than $1 billion. The magnificent property opened in 1990 and was bankrupt the very next year. I guess casinos proved a losing bet for Donald after all. But Trump was not one to give up. He founded Trump Hotels and Casino Resorts in 1995, which purchased the Taj Mahal in 1996. But we all know that Atlantic City would become a sinking boat shortly thereafter, and Trump sadly was a major casualty. But whether he suffered the heat or not is a matter of speculation, filing successful bankruptcies in 2004, 2009, and 2014. Considering the great bankruptcy laws of our great country that he often cites when in good moods, leaving Trump with only 10% ownership of those assets. We all know Trump's passion for golf. He started building and acquiring golf courses as early as 1999, owning 16 golf courses in the United States and around the world, such as Turnberry in Scotland, which are among the more profitable segments of his business empire for a change. Trump gained prominence like never before with acquiring the Plaza Hotel in 1989, but that was perhaps the peak of his financial success because 2 years later, the hotel ran into bankruptcy, and Trump had to let this property go too. Trump later acquired 40 Wall Street in 1996. Trump also owned the Miss Universe pageant from 1996 all the way to 2015. A project that he enjoyed thoroughly to say the least, including Miss Teen and Miss Teen USA, and had lucrative broadcast agreements, first with CBS and then with NBC. He eventually sold his stake after buying NBC's share before he ran for president. But unlike the Miss Universe pageant, Trump had quite a few ventures that failed badly, including Trump University, an institution that offered real estate courses, Trump Board Game, and Trump Steaks, as he tried merchandising everything from drinking water to action figures under the Trump brand name. Somebody who simply couldn't resist the spotlight, Trump even made a complete fool out of himself by engaging in an absurd rivalry with then World Wrestling Federation, later WWE, Chairman Vince McMahon, and appeared in the wrestlers' ring several times. Though you gotta give the guy points for trying out his hand in just about every damn thing under the sun. Things were not looking too great for Trump, with multiple properties running into losses in Atlantic City and liquidating. Apart from lawsuits of fraud against Trump University, the billionaire needed a break, which came right in time in 2003, with reality TV producer Mark Burnett's TV show for NBC, The Apprentice. And what else could he ask for? Playing himself, the boss, on TV, barking out his famous catchphrase, "You're fired." The show became an instant success and followed up even more audiences with Celebrity Apprentice, which featured the likes of Joan Rivers, Gary Busey, Cyndi Lauper, and Dennis Rodman, whose friendship with Trump was one of the entertaining highlights of the show. The show also had a guest appearance of Alec Baldwin, helping out his brother Stephen in one of the tasks, who would later go on to play Trump on Saturday Night Live. It was during this period that Trump met and married Slovenian model Melania Noss at Mar-a-Lago in a high-profile wedding in 2005, who would later go on to become the first foreign-born First Lady. Trump had his youngest son, Barron, with Melania in 2006. And we know the rest of the story. After 14 seasons, Trump's contract got terminated with NBC, and he ran for president in 2016. Arnold Schwarzenegger replaced him as the show's host, and needless to say, Trump didn't leave the opportunity to mock him via his favorite medium of presidential communication, Twitter. And the world of politics, not just American politics, got a shocker when he came down the escalator at the Trump Tower lobby to announce his campaign. The rest, as Hillary Clinton would tell you, is history. But in the wake of the COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic crisis, will Trump be able to sustain his popularity as president in the face of an economic recession? Will he be able to beat the most likely Democratic nominee, Joe Biden, in the presidential election this fall? Will he be able to dodge federal investigators weighing in on his alleged dealings with Russians during the 2016 election and avoid prison once he's out of the White House? Only time will tell. But until then, what I can tell you for sure is that it is hard to keep the Donald out of the news.